The New York Knicks have made a major decision in free agency, and it's a move that speaks volumes about where this front office wants to take the team. On Sportcenter today, we broke down what has been an unusually active September for New York, a month that has already featured multiple signings, roster adjustment, and some eye-opening indications about how Leon Rose and the organization view the current core. Over the past few days, the Knicks have added pieces like Landry Shamet, Garrison Matthews, and veteran guard Malcolm Brogdon. And according to what was discussed on the show, the Knicks are committed to keeping Brogdon along with either Shamet or Matthews, which means a roster crunch is coming. That likely forces New York to explore a trade involving one of their young players. Names like Tyler Kolek, Pacome Dadiet, and even Deuce McBride have surfaced in conversation. In some reports, Mitchell Robinson's name has even been floated, showing just how aggressive the Knicks might be willing to get to balance this roster. But the biggest takeaway from the conversation today was that the Knicks quietly made a decision that reveals something critical about their future plan. One young player, despite all the speculation swirling around the team, is completely off the table. He's not being moved under any circumstance. That stance, according to multiple insiders, became even clearer after the team weighed the possibility of signing another veteran. Jake Fisher reported that the Knicks had considered bringing in free agent center Thomas Bryant. Team officials met with Bryant recently, and on paper, the fit made sense. He's a 6'10" big who split time last season with the Miami Heat and Indiana Pacers, averaging 6.5 points and nearly 4 rebounds while shooting just over 50% from the field. From the corners, he was particularly effective, knocking down over 40% of his threes. For a team always looking to add reliable depth behind its starters, Bryant checked plenty of boxes. And, as was mentioned on the show, Knicks officials were impressed. According to SNY's Ian Begley, Bryant stood out in open gym workouts and was described by league sources as the best big man still available in free agency. That's no small praise, especially for a 28-year-old who played meaningful minutes during Indiana's postseason run, a run that, of course, came at the expense of New York in the Eastern Conference Finals. In fact, Bryant's standout performance in that series was one of the reminders of the impact he could have. But here's the catch. The Knicks ultimately decided not to move forward with Bryant. Instead, they prioritized bolstering their backcourt and wing rotation, signaling a clear direction in how they want to build around their stars. That doesn't mean Bryant is out of the picture forever. The door remains open should circumstances change during the season. But for now, New York chose to pass on the opportunity. It's worth noting that the Knicks aren't alone in keeping tabs on Bryant. As we reported today, the Miami Heat have interest as well, though they're said to be focusing more on Precious Achiuwa at this stage. Even so, Bryant is expected to remain one of the more intriguing names on the free agent board, and New York will continue to monitor the situation. The numbers from his limited postseason minutes last year don't jump off the page. Just 2.6 points and 1.4 rebounds in under 9 minutes per game. But efficiency has never been his issue. He hit 50% of his threes in the playoffs, albeit on minimal attempts, and posted a true shooting percentage north of 65%. That tells you his game can translate in bursts, especially in a limited role. And that's what stood out in the segment today. It's not always about filling up the stat sheet or playing extended minutes. It's about proving you can maximize the smaller windows you're given. In playoff basketball, where possessions are magnified and momentum swings quickly, having a player who can come in, hit a shot, and maintain spacing without becoming a liability on the other end carries real value. So, the message from today's conversation on Sportcenter was clear. The Knicks made a conscious decision to strengthen their perimeter depth rather than take another flyer on a backup big. And in the process, they showed which direction this roster is heading, while also reinforcing which of their young assets they see as untouchable. That kind of clarity mattered because it reveals the team's priorities. They're leaning into versatility, shooting, and the ability to adapt to different matchups, rather than doubling down on a more traditional approach. On Sportcenter today, the discussion around the New York Knicks took an interesting turn, focusing on the front court depth and what that means for the rotation heading into camp. the topic wasn't just about the stars, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, but about the secondary pieces who could define how flexible this roster really becomes under Mike Brown. Those are the players who will determine how deep this team can go when the games tighten up and the spotlight shifts from the headliners to the supporting cast. The first name that came up was Thomas Bryant, but quickly the conversation shifted to another intriguing possibility: Trey Jemison, who spent most of his time in the G League before earning a role with the Lakers last season. In the G League, he averaged roughly 10.5 points, 8 rebounds, and nearly 2 assists per game. Those numbers aren't staggering, but what stood out was his motor, his physicality, and the way he translated that effort into meaningful minutes once he got a call-up. As Ian Begley mentioned, Jemison is firmly on New York's radar, with the expectation that the Knicks will host additional veterans for workouts before training camp officially tips off. The reasoning behind that interest is straightforward. Big man depth remains the thinnest part of this roster. The guard rotation is loaded. Brunson, Brogdon, Deuce McBride, and Jordan Clarkson give New York layers of creation and shot-making. The wing rotation, too, has become more dynamic and balanced with size and shooting. But in the front court, it's really just Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns as the proven anchors, with Ariel Hukporti and Gershon Yabusele providing supplemental depth. Yabusele has the versatility to play small ball 5, but as was pointed out on the program, that's not a permanent solution across an 82-game schedule. That naturally leads to questions about the starting lineup and rotations under Mike Brown. And here's where the conversation got particularly interesting. Don't be surprised if Robinson comes off the bench this season. Brown has a history of leaning into smaller, more versatile starting units. We saw it during his time in Sacramento, when he rolled out Fox, Monk, Barnes, Murray, and Sabonis as a core group. With the Knicks, a similar philosophy could see a starting 5 of Brunson, McBride, Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Towns. That's essentially a 5-out shooting lineup, one that prioritizes spacing, perimeter defense, and ball movement over traditional rebounding. Of course, the trade-off is clear. Rebounding would take a hit without Robinson anchoring the middle. But, as was emphasized during the segment, OG Anunoby is often underrated as a rebounder, and the Knicks would still have the ability to adjust quickly if boards became a concern. That's part of the appeal of Brown's coaching style. Unlike Tom Thibodeau, he's far more willing to experiment, to change lineups on the fly, and to give different combinations a real chance. If a small ball approach doesn't hold up on a given night, Brown won't hesitate to plug Robinson or Yabusele back into the mix. Then there's the intangible side of Trey Jemison, which is why his name keeps surfacing. He plays with an edge, and his mindset was highlighted in one post-game interview last year when he famously said, "If you want to beat us, you've got to fight us." Literally, fight us. So, that kind of mentality resonates with a franchise like the Knicks. Tough, gritty, and willing to embrace the physical battle. For a locker room that already has its stars, adding someone with that kind of role-player identity makes sense. The Knicks also continue to show faith in Ariel Hukporti, who is expected to see more minutes this season. His G League numbers, around 7 points and 7 rebounds, don't jump out, but the flashes in his limited NBA action have been promising. In the handful of games where he's logged double-digit minutes, he's delivered with rebounding, rim protection, and the occasional offensive burst. Those are the kinds of incremental signs a coaching staff looks for when deciding whether to expand a young player's role. And the fact that New York hasn't aggressively pursued another veteran big suggests they believe Hukporti can handle those backup center minutes when Robinson isn't on the floor. So, the message coming out of Sportcenter today was pretty clear. The Knicks are still exploring ways to add depth in the front court, but they're also showing confidence in the players they already have. Jemison, Hukporti, and even Yabusele represent different stylistic options, while Robinson and Towns remain the pillars. How Mike Brown balances those options will go a long way in shaping the identity of this team.